Welcome to the Silent Chronicles.
Have you ever wondered why the news is constantly talking about Israel and Palestine? It seems like a conflict that's been going on forever, right? Well, let's break it down, get past the headlines, and really understand what's happening, especially with the major events that kicked off in October 2023. This isn't just about dates and names, it's about people, land, and a history that's deeply complex and incredibly human. So, to get the full picture, we need to rewind the clock, way back. We're talking about a piece of land that holds immense religious and historical significance for Jews, Christians, and Muslims. For centuries, various empires and groups controlled this region. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a movement called Zionism gained momentum. Its goal was to establish a homeland for the Jewish people in their ancestral land, which they call Eretz Israel. At the time, this area was part of the Ottoman Empire and was predominantly inhabited by Arabs. After World War I, the Ottoman Empire collapsed, and Britain took control of the region under a mandate. During this period, Jewish immigration increased, which led to rising tensions with the local Arab population. Both communities wanted to govern themselves and had competing claims to the land. Fast forward to after World War II. The world was grappling with the horrors of the Holocaust, and there was immense international sympathy for the creation of a Jewish state. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a plan to partition the land into two states, one Arab and one Jewish, with Jerusalem as a separate, internationally administered city. The Jewish leadership accepted the plan, but Arab leaders and neighboring countries rejected it, arguing it was unfair to the majority Arab population. So, what happened next? In 1948, when the British mandate ended, Israel declared its independence. Immediately, neighboring Arab countries invaded, leading to the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. By the end of this war, Israel controlled more territory than the UN plan had proposed. For Israelis, this is their war of independence. For Palestinians, it is the Nakba, or catastrophe, as hundreds of thousands of them were displaced from their homes, becoming refugees in neighboring countries and in the areas we now know as the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. This event is the foundational trauma for the Palestinian people, and it sets the stage for everything that follows. The decades after 1948 were marked by more wars, most notably the Six-Day War in 1967. In this conflict, Israel captured the West Bank, East Jerusalem from Jordan, the Gaza Strip and Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, and the Golan Heights from Syria. This occupation of the West Bank and Gaza is a central point of the conflict today. Millions of Palestinians live under Israeli military control in these territories. Over the years, numerous Palestinian groups emerged, some advocating for a state through diplomacy, others through armed resistance. One of the most prominent groups is Hamas, which was founded in 1987. Unlike the more secular Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, Hamas is an Islamist group. It does not recognize Israel's right to exist and has been responsible for many attacks on Israeli civilians. Many countries, including the United States and the European Union, designate Hamas as a terrorist organization. Peace efforts have come and gone. The 1990s saw a glimmer of hope with the Oslo Accords, which created the Palestinian Authority to give Palestinians limited self-governance in parts of the West Bank and Gaza. The idea was that this would be a step towards a final peace deal and a two-state solution, an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel. But the accords ultimately failed to deliver a lasting peace. Key issues like the status of Jerusalem, the borders of a future Palestinian state, Israeli settlements in the West Bank, and the right of return for Palestinian refugees were never resolved. This brings us closer to the present day. The Gaza Strip, a tiny, densely populated coastal territory, has been a major flashpoint. In 2005, Israel withdrew its troops and settlers from Gaza. However, it maintained tight control over its borders, airspace, and coastline, which critics call an ongoing occupation. In 2007, Hamas took control of Gaza after a brief civil war with the Fatah Party, which dominates the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. In response, Israel and Egypt imposed a strict blockade on Gaza, severely restricting the movement of people and goods. Life inside Gaza has been incredibly difficult, with high unemployment, limited access to clean water and electricity, and a healthcare system on the brink of collapse. There have been several major rounds of fighting between Israel and Hamas in Gaza over the years, each causing significant destruction and loss of life. Now, let's talk about October 2023. On October 7th, Hamas launched a massive, coordinated attack on Israel from Gaza. Militants broke through the border fence, attacking military bases, towns, and a music festival. It was the deadliest attack in Israel's history, resulting in the deaths of over 1,000 people, mostly civilians, and the taking of hundreds of hostages back to Gaza. The scale and brutality of the attack shocked Israel and the world. In response, Israel declared war on Hamas and launched an intense military campaign in Gaza. The stated goals were to dismantle Hamas's military capabilities and secure the return of the hostages. This campaign involved one of the most severe aerial bombardments of the 21st century, followed by a ground invasion. The fighting has been devastating for the people of Gaza. The conflict has taken place in a densely packed urban environment, leading to a catastrophic humanitarian crisis. Entire neighborhoods have been leveled. The death toll in Gaza has been immense, with tens of thousands of Palestinians killed, a large percentage of whom are women and children, according to the Gazan Health Ministry. The vast majority of Gaza's population has been displaced, forced to flee their homes with nowhere safe to go. Hospitals, schools, and refugee camps have been hit. Access to food, water, medicine, and fuel has been severely limited, pushing the population to the edge of famine. International aid organizations have described the situation as apocalyptic. The global reaction has been deeply divided. Many countries stood with Israel, affirming its right to self-defense after the October 7th attack. However, as the Palestinian death toll mounted and the humanitarian crisis worsened, international criticism of Israel's military tactics grew. There have been widespread protests around the world, some calling for a ceasefire, others showing support for either Israelis or Palestinians. Accusations of war crimes have been leveled against both sides. Throughout this period, there have been intense diplomatic efforts by countries like the United States, Qatar, and Egypt to broker a ceasefire and secure the release of hostages. These negotiations have been incredibly difficult, with both sides having demands that the other finds hard to meet. A brief truce in late 2023 allowed for some hostages and Palestinian prisoners to be exchanged and for more humanitarian aid to enter Gaza, but the fighting soon resumed. By late 2025, a fragile ceasefire was finally put in place, but the situation remains incredibly tense. The ceasefire has been repeatedly violated, and the underlying issues are far from resolved. Gaza is in ruins, and the task of rebuilding seems almost impossible under the current conditions. The population is traumatized and displaced. For Israelis, the sense of security was shattered on October 7th, and the fate of the remaining hostages continues to be a source of national anguish. So where does this leave us? The path forward is incredibly uncertain. The idea of a two-state solution, which has been the cornerstone of international diplomacy for decades, seems more distant than ever. Trust between the two sides is at an all-time low. Within both Israeli and Palestinian societies, there are deep divisions about what the future should look like. This is a conflict with a long, painful history, filled with competing narratives and deep-seated grievances on both sides. It's not a simple story of good versus evil. It's a story of two peoples who both have a profound connection to the same land. Understanding this history, the hopes, the fears, and the traumas of both Israelis and Palestinians is the first step to making sense of the headlines. It's a human tragedy that continues to unfold, and one that the world is still struggling to solve. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a like and consider subscribing for more deep dives into complex world events. See you next time.